This is how you make a reversible tote bag. First you need to cut out your fabric. You need 2 of the handle pieces. You need 2 of the inside, or 2 of one colour piece for your bag, 2 of the other, 2 patterned pieces, and you need your pockets. We're going to start by sewing the pockets. You fold your pocket fabric right sides together and clip to hold it in place. Now the pockets are sewn the exact same way you made your wheat bags. So you're going to sew around the outside edge, leaving a gap to turn it. I'm going to start at this side. I'm going to go forwards a bit, and then I'm going to reverse to lock that stitch in place. And come all the way down the front. When I get to a corner, I make sure my needle is down in the fabric, lift it up and twist. Another corner, needle down, put up, twist. Now remember, I'm stopping here to leave a gap. Now I can take my pocket, trim the corners, and any extra fabric. Just being careful not to trim too close to my seam. And I turn this out the right way. Poke into the corners nice and sharp. We tuck this piece in here, and this will become my first pocket. Okay, now we repeat. I'm going to make another pocket in grey. This fabric doesn't have a right side, so I'll just fold it together neatly and sew it. The same as before, I'm going to start at the edge. I'm going to sew forwards. I'm going to reverse. When I get to a corner, I put sure my needle is down, foot up. Needle down, foot up, twist. I'm going to stop here, leave a gap for turning, do a small section of back stitch and remove. Now again, I'm going to trim the corners. And trim any extra off here. flip my pocket out the right way. Just use the end of a pencil or paintbrush to get those corners nice and sharp. And that is the pockets. Now we need to attach the pockets to the front of the bags. So I'm going to put my grey pocket on the front of my camo bag. This. I'm going to sew 1, 2, 3 sides so that the pocket is like this. Now make sure that the end that had the hole for opening, the side that has the opening, is over here and is going to get sealed shut when you attach the pocket. Now I cannot attach with clips, so I need to use some pins to attach this to my bag. So I'm going to get some pins, and I want this in the center of the bag. So I measure where the center of my bag is. By folding in half, making a wee crease, opening up, there's the center. And I get the center of my pocket by doing the same. And I line those two up. Now this is the bottom of the bag, and I don't want it to go too close to there. I'm going to bring it up a bit. And then I'm going to pin. Just go through and push the pin back out. Pin it here. Pin it here. And I'll put one pin at the bottom as well. Now remember, I'm sewing 1, 2, 3 sides and leaving this open, as that is the pocket. When you first sew the pocket on, remember to do a bit of back stitch. So I'm going to go forwards slightly and then back. Needle down, foot up, twist, foot down, and continue along. You can take these pins out as you go. Then give me the pin, take it out. Needle down, foot up. Come to the top of the pocket, I'm just going to make sure I go right to the edge and then a wee back stitch to hold it in place. Needle up, and there you have it. Pocket attached to one side of your bag. Now I'm going to repeat this with my patterned pocket onto my bag here. Same thing, make sure you know where that gap is. Centre the pocket. Find the centre there. Find the centre of my pocket. And attach with some pins. remembering this is the top of the bag and this is the bottom. So I'm leaving this side open up the top here. Place my fabric in, press a foot down. Again, I sew forwards and back stitch. Top of the bag, I'm going to make sure I do a wee back stitch to lock that in place. Needle up, and now I have the pocket attached to the top. Now we need to take your two pieces of, well, whatever is the one side of your bag. So whichever pieces you would like to be the match together, you take your two, I'm going to start with the other colour, take our two pattern pieces and we're going to put them good sides facing in together. Match those up neatly. So you see I've got my two pieces of fabric, good sides facing in, and I'm just going to peg these around the outside. Now I'm going to attach these two pieces together and I'm going to sew down this edge, not in the opening. I'm going to sew down this edge and down this edge. Now remember, the part of the bag without the cutouts, this is the top of the bag, so you need to leave this open. So I'm going to start on this side, making sure I go forwards and then right back to the top. Bottom and reverse. Needle up, foot up. Now I'm not sewing this section here, but I'm going to twist around. I am going to sew the bottom here. Forwards, back. Back stitch at the end, needle up. Now again, leave this open like this. Sew this side closed. Reverse at the top, take it out. So I've sewn 1, 2, 3 sides closed. Now I'm going to repeat that with my other two pieces of fabric. So make sure they are, this is the good side with the pocket on. Good sides are facing in together. And we peg around the outside. Now I'm going to sew 1, 2, 3 sides closed. Start here at the top, go forwards, back. Reverse at the end there. And this side. Forwards a bit, back. See, same thing again. These sides are open. We've sewn 1, 2, 3 sides closed. Next, we're going to sew our handles. We'll start with our patterned handle. We're going to fold it in half long ways with the good side facing in and peg all the way down. Now we are going to sew down this long edge and seal one end closed, leaving the other end open. I'll start at my long, place this in here. Now to make sure I get a nice straight handle, I'm going to line the edge of my folded piece up because that is my straightest edge, and I'm going to make sure the whole way down that this stays in line with the edge. So I'm going to sew forwards a wee bit, back, and then I'm going to go all the way down, keeping this neatly on here. Folded edge in line with the edge of the metal plate. As I got close to the end, I want to seal this end shut. So needle down, foot up, twist, and I'm going to sew right to the edge here, and back stitch. Up, foot up. Now again, like on our pockets, I'm going to trim this extra. Be careful not to go too close to my stitching. Now, I'm going to repeat that with my other handle. So I fold it in half, good sides facing in, peg it closed at one end, and then all the way along, some pegs to hold that in place there. Because I want my bag to have the same width straps, place this in again, lining it up with the edge of the metal plate. I sew forwards, I sew backwards, and then I sew all the way down. folded end in line with the metal plate, so I get a lovely straight line, moving the pegs as you go. When I get to the end here, I'm going to make sure my needle is down in the fabric, lift it up, and sew this end shut. With a wee reverse there as well. So, one end is open, the other end is sealed shut. Again, I'm just going to trim any extra off. Now you're going to turn your straps out the right way. So we separate these two layers and we push the sewn shut end inside the tube that we've created by sewing. And you get your any object that's long and can push through like this. You can use a pencil and you push this through. Now at the end you want to make sure that you push these out, and then you can take your pencil out and pull that all the way through. So you've got a strap with no visible sewn edges. Now you do the same to your other strap. So you separate the two layers like this. You push that inside the sewn end. This. Take your pushing object and push it through. Harder on fabrics that are thicker. Away. Now you can see I haven't quite got that edge out there, so I'm going to try pull that out a bit neater there. And now I have my two straps. Okay, our next step is sewing the corners of our bags. So I'm going to reach my hands inside the bag and push my fingers out the end. Then I'm going to match up the seams like this, and I'm going to sew that straight down there. I'll clip that, and I'll do the same to the other side. Separate the two layers, match up the seams, peg, and I'm sewing straight down here. Place my fabric in. I'm going to sew forwards. In reverse. I'm going to sew straight down here. Same for this side. Forwards, back. Now I'll just trim off that bit of extra there. trim that extra there. And I'm going to repeat with the other. So what you've created is the boxed bottom of your bag there. Right, repeat for this one. So we put our hands inside like this. Fingers out the end. We match up the two edges. Place a peg. Let's open it up. Match the seams up. Place a peg. Now I'm going to sew straight across here again. Forwards, back, and across. And now we've got both the bottoms of this bag. Shay, our last step is assembling the bag all together. You need to turn one of your bag pieces out the right way. Like this. And you're going to put this inside the other bag piece. So this is the good side of your bag here. And this is the good side, and this one goes inside this piece. So they're sitting inside each other, the good sides facing together, so I can see the wrong side of this fabric, this is the raw edge, and I can see the wrong side of this fabric when they're correctly together. Line these up so that they all match. Now you need to place your handles inside these pieces. So I take my bag, I take my handle, and I'm just folding it like this so that it creates a handle shape when it's inside, and I place it between these two layers like this. I take them out and I'm going to measure the distance from the seam just roughly with my hand and peg that in place. And I'm going to do the same for the other handle and peg that in place. Now that is my handle attached. It's only in between these two top layers. Then I flip the bag over and I'm going to repeat the process with the other handle. So again, I fold it so it creates that handle. Place it in between the two layers. And I'm just going to make sure that these are matched up. I peg there. And I'm going to make sure that's matched up with the other handle on the other side there. And peg that onto there. Now I'm going to sew all the way around this top edge, but I'm going to leave a gap so that I can flip the whole bag out. Now to do that on your machine, you slip the bag under the machine like this. I'm going to start at this first handle here. And I'm going to sew forwards and reverse. Sew all the way around the top edge of the bag. I just move the fabric through gently so that I can keep sewing forwards. When I get close to a handle, I just take out that think. Make sure that the handle is fully attached there. Move it through. Now remember, I'm leaving a gap between these two handles, so when I get to this green peg, I'm going to stop. And I'm going to attach this handle, and then I'm going to leave this portion open. Attach the handle, do a reverse, take it out. Now I've sewn all the way around the top edge, but I've left this section open, and that is so I can reach through pull the bag out the right way. Now I've got two sections of bag here, and I'm going to push one inside the other, like this. Okay, I have my bag pushed one layer inside the other. Now I have this hole here that I need to close up. So I'm going to tuck those raw edges inside. I'm going to place a peg, making sure that I keep one side neatly the other. And I'm going to go around and make sure that every edge, all the way around the top edge of the bag, is nice and straight with one side of the bag on each face. And I'm just placing a peg in because I'm going to sew all the way around the top edge again, which will reinforce those handles and give us our nice tidy finish all the way around the top of the bag. So I place my bag in again. Now you're going to make sure that your handles are on this side of the bag. Line that up. I'm going to make sure that as I sew around, I can only see the patterned fabric. Since this is the finishing edge, I'm making sure that I keep the edge of my foot on the edge of my fabric, so I get a really nice straight line. And again, make sure that that handle is of this side. Make sure that grey is tucked under. Move the bag around. Coming back to where I started here. This is where I started sewing. So I'm going to finish over and just go back over the same portion, and that will lock that in place. Back stitch. And there you have it. Top stitched around the top edge of your bag, which holds your handles in place. And you have your reversible tote bag.